I want to say before I go into this any further, this topic is so, wait for it, Molly's favorite word, nuanced. Truly, favorite word in the English dictionary, nuance. This video was sparked by a comment that I saw, and I was like, I've got to react. I have to make a Molly Rambles, sit down, chit chat with my people about this, because I actually wrote a whole chapter in my book about this very topic. And that is, does money make you less disabled? Can you essentially buy your way out of disability? Now, this comment that I saw was under one of my hot takes videos. I've done a couple of the reacting to disability hot takes or sharing my disability hot takes and asking you guys in the comments for your own. And that's where I saw this one. And I would definitely say that is a hot take. And this is not directed at this individual. I am certain that this is a belief many people hold. And I'm certain they are not the only person that holds this belief, because I can say I held this belief for a very long time. And I have been across the spectrum of financial circumstances. I have struggled greatly. I have worked 80-hour weeks for a salary of $20,000 a year, which is basically almost less than minimum wage. I have been on government assistance where I am solely living based off of a check from the government each month. And I have had very lucrative years as an entrepreneur where I was able to afford to have frivolous purchases like a Cartier bracelet. So I have been all along the spectrum. I mean, definitely not on the far end of the spectrum. I don't have the Andrea Bocelli, Stevie Wonder money by any means. But, I've definitely experienced having more money and having less money and how that has impacted me as a disabled woman. I want to say before I go into this any further, this topic is so, wait for it, Molly's favorite word, nuanced. Truly, favorite word in the English dictionary, nuance. Because, man, it's just applicable to everything. Everything is so nuanced. Life is not black and white. Most of life is the gray area in the middle of the spectrum. And I am also only sharing my one experience and my one perspective. I am not here saying that I am right. I am here saying this is my experience and my opinion and why I hold it. This is meant to be a conversation space, just like all of my Molly Rambles videos. I want you guys to weigh in the comments in a way that is always respectful and kind and open-minded, just the way we approach this in every other video. Now, in my book, Unseen: How I Lost My Vision But Found My Voice, I have a chapter which frankly is my favorite chapter title in the entire book. One of my favorite parts of the writing process was the chapter titles, just coming up with such fun names. And the chapter is titled, You Can't Buy Equality. In that chapter, I discuss the fact that for a very long time, growing up, I felt like if I worked hard enough, if I was successful enough, if I made enough money, my disability would no longer matter. And that was honestly a big driving force for me. This idea that one day having enough success or money would make the challenges of being disabled disappear. And I'll say I came crashing back down to earth. At a certain point, once I had hit that level of mainstream success, where I had numbers on social media to prove that people liked me and I was good enough in certain ways, and I had enough money in the bank account that I could pay for an assistant and, live comfortably. I looked around and I was like, wait a second, I feel just as disabled as I always have. And I think that I first want to recognize, as I always try to do, my privilege. I am not blind, for lack of a better term, to the privilege that my success and my financial comfort has brought me. It has meant that I do not have to have the stress of living on government support at this point in my life. It means I do not have the stress of relying on other people in my life, like family or a romantic partner financially. It means that I do not have to have the anxiety of paying for expenses related to disabilities such as medical appointments, medication, and any medical necessities. And it also means that I don't have to go through necessarily all of the same hurdles to get accessible equipment. We in this community all know about the disability tax all too well, right? Being disabled is expensive. It comes with added costs. And I am able to afford to buy something like a pair of Meta Ray-Bans that make my life easier in a way that many others in my community have to go through different organizations or charities or government hurdles to get that equipment gifted to them. And I went through that system many times in my life. Like all of my assistive technology growing up, my family could not afford to buy any of it for me, whether it be a laptop with a screen reader, whether it be a phone with a screen reader, a brailler, any of that. I did go through those traditional channels, whether that be like an organization like the CNIB, or going through, like, we often applied for grants through like the Lions Foundation where things were donated to my family. So I have certainly done that. You know, I remember when Gypsy passed away, I couldn't afford her medical bills and I applied for a grant through the CNIB and they helped cover that. So I certainly understand that I can afford those things. I never want to pretend that growing up I was harder off than I was financially. My family was more upper middle class, but we were definitely at times paycheck to paycheck. My dad had a number of years where he was completely out of work and we were a single income family. So when he was out of work, our family didn't have income, or my mom was always an entrepreneur and had like a small business. So her income was either seasonal as a gardener or just certainly not enough to support the family. For us growing up, my dad's income was what paid the monthly bills and for necessities, and then my mom's income was for any Christmas gifts or things like that. But I didn't come from a family that could easily afford to give me a lot of these other opportunities like assistive tech, which is so expensive. So I was never hard done by, but we were never super comfortable financially. We weren't able to go on vacations and stuff like that. So yeah, I want to be clear that I'm not trying to say that we didn't have anything, but also we weren't super comfortable either. I can't afford all the things, right? I'm not a mega millionaire, right? There's certainly still assistive tech that I'm God damn, that is so expensive. Which is a whole separate issue. That is a whole other conversation. It's so frustrating that assistive technology is often so ridiculously overpriced and expensive, but there's certainly still things that aren't in my budget to just go out and buy. But yes, a pair of $300 Ray-Bans, I am fortunate to be able to go out and buy that without feeling a lot of added stress to my wallet or my bank account. All of that is a privilege. So yes, I think there are in many ways a certain level of stress removed or certain barriers removed financially when it comes to affording things that might be necessities that are hard to get for a lot of people in the community. But it doesn't mean that the disability tax doesn't still exist for me. I am still paying for all of those things. So I work really, really hard to earn the money that I have, and then I still end up spending a lot of it on necessities to be able to live in a way that most people who work this hard to make this money maybe get to spend it more frivolously on themselves. I'm spending it on making sure, small things like if I want to go to the gym and my partner can't come with me, I have to buy a day pass for my mom or a friend to come with me because the gym isn't accessible. So I am still paying that tax, and I'm not going to ask my friend or family member to pay for their day pass so they can come help me. That's an expense that I incur because I'm disabled. I still have to pay for more rideshare services than I would if I could just drive a car. I still incur the tax. I still have the added expenses. I just have a bit more money to spend on it. But I have had moments where I get frustrated that I'm working so hard to make this money and then I can't even save it or invest it as much as I'd like to, because it does just end up going to all of the other stuff. Or there's things that I'm wow, I would be able to afford to go on XYZ trip, but I can't because I'd also have to pay for another person to come with me. And that doubles the cost of that experience. And I don't have the means for that. So different things like that, it's still a barrier. But I suppose the further you get into wealth, the less even that is a barrier. Like, I'm not at that level, so I do understand that. But I want to talk about all the ways in which I learned being comfortable financially does not make you less disabled. And I think it's really important to talk about that, because I think it's a really, really harmful and dangerous rhetoric to believe that we can work our way out of disability. That if you work hard enough, you won't be disabled. That disabled people just need to work harder, because disability is not a you problem. It's not an individual issue. Disability is a societal and systemic issue. And my financial freedom does not remove the societal barriers, does not remove ableism, discrimination, or inaccessibility. I still battle that just as much as ever. I still get denied access with my guide dog just as much as ever. I still deal with social stigma, social isolation, challenges socially just as much as ever. I still battle judgments, micro-ableism, larger scale ableism just as much as ever. And that was kind of the realization that I made, that it didn't matter how much money I had to buy assistive technology. If the technology isn't designed to be accessible, then I still can't access it. It doesn't matter how much money I have to walk into an expensive restaurant, I'll still get denied access with my guide dog when I get to the door. And I've actually often found that the more kind of spaces I walk into where I'm around other people who are successful or who have money, the less I'm made to feel like I belong there. That's often where I feel the most unwanted, or face the most discrimination, or am made to feel the most uncomfortable. Like, it doesn't matter how much I've earned it. Because I'm disabled, I'm still not like them, right? I made a video about how I bought the Cartier bracelet, and also talk about that in the book, to be like, look, see, I'm one of you. I've done it. I deserve to be here. And then the realization that that actually didn't change anything. I still go to these spaces where sometimes I'm literally brought in by a brand. I'm paid to be there. And I walk in and I'm treated like I'm not meant to be there. And I'm made to feel really uncomfortable. And it sucks. It doesn't matter how much I've worked for this. I get there and it's still like, you're not enough. Because society doesn't view disability as good enough. And that is really frustrating and really hard to deal with emotionally. So I think it doesn't take away a lot of the other barriers. It doesn't take away a lot of the emotional toll. I still carry the emotional weight of medical trauma. I still carry the emotional hardship of grieving the life I could have if I could see. None of that goes away. I can afford therapy, but it doesn't stop me from feeling those things. Wealth also doesn't buy back all of the time that disability takes. Everything that I do, or many things that I do, take longer. I admit that there are many things that I'm slower at doing, and it takes more time out of my life because of the fact that it's not accessible and I'm having to adapt and use workarounds. It doesn't remove all the time it takes for additional medical appointments, for scheduling all of those things, for researching new technologies and where to get them, from the weeks out of my life that it takes to go to guide dog training. Every, 6 to 8 years if I'm lucky, less than that if I'm not, I have to go for 3 weeks to a facility to train with a dog. That's a lot of time out of my life. So none of that is removed because I have money in my bank account. I still deal with issues like burnout, the fatigue of being disabled in a world that's not made for you. I still deal with the stress or burden of constantly having to advocate for myself. And I also find myself having to do a lot more work advocating because I'm going into spaces where there hasn't historically been a lot of disabled people. So you're advocating even more, because it's not just about advocating for yourself, it's about advocating for the community as a whole, to make sure that you're helping carve paths and creating space for more disabled people to be there in the future. So I think that while money will always bring privilege, whether you're disabled or not, it equally does not change how disabled I am every single day. And the only way that we change the systemic issues is by making sure that we're in this together and making sure that we're always working towards actively combating ableism, advocating for increased universal design and accessibility. Those are the ways that we can really move forward and remove disability as a barrier, is remembering that it is a societal issue, not an individual issue, and therefore the solution is not individualized solutions, it's universal change. And at the end of the day, having money doesn't mean I can see, and it never will. I still can't read a book with my eyes. I still can't see in the mirror. I still can't drive a car. I still can't see a sunset. And all of that has different implications for my life on a daily basis. I think always it's so important to understand that we all have different circumstances, but to have empathy and compassion and try to remember that we're all just humans trying to figure life out and with unique and different issues. And I think this is a conversation that's beyond just does money buy your way out of disability? It's does money buy your way out of oppression? This is an experience that transcends just disability. So many minorities feel the same way when they reach a certain status or level in their life and they walk into these elite spaces where somebody like them's not yet been seen before. They're still facing all the issues that they used to face. And then the added burden of being the person who has to try to change that from the inside. So I think it doesn't buy your way out of disability. It perhaps buys different problems and eases some other ones. But at the end of the day, disability is still going to exist no matter how much money you have in your bank account. The thing is, doing this, like comparing disability this way, isn't helpful for anybody. And we could do it all day. Like going tit for tat, we could do this all day. We could look at and be like, okay, that person has more sight than me, so in that way they're less disabled than me because they don't need a screen reader, blah, 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 blah. The same way I broke down in this video I recently did about being legally blind versus total blindness. Like they have different challenges. And so I could be like, okay, well, they're less disabled than me in this way, but I'm less disabled than them because I have more money than them to spend on things and X, Y, Z. And it's like doing this, constantly comparing ourselves and deciding who has it worse doesn't benefit anybody, and it only furthers our divide. And when we are doing that internally within the community, dividing ourselves, then it's harder for us to be a united front externally to actually achieve tangible change in society. And if you want to learn more about my story or hear some other stories around this topic in my book, then you can pre-order Unseen anywhere you buy books. It comes out September 23rd, and pre-ordering really, really, really helps authors out. That's why you hear authors pushing pre-ordering so much, because it really does make a difference. I'm going to leave a playlist I made on Spotify where you can listen and hear the emotional arc of the book in the description box below, as well as everywhere you can pre-order this, including as an audiobook on Audible. And yes, I am the one who reads the audiobook. And actually, you can click here to watch the video where I read the audiobook, or you can click over here to watch a video about mission washing and the fact that it is legal to pay disabled people less. I think there's actually some stuff in that kind of overlaps with this video, where I discuss issues like people still expecting that I should do work for free or for little to no money just because I should do it out of the goodness of my heart and my passion. So I think that's an interesting conversation that you might be interested in if you enjoyed this. And until then, I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'd love to hear what you think in the comments below.